तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srimad Bhagavatam prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Shranvatam swakatha krishna punya shravana kirtana hridayantasto hi bhadrani vidunoti shuhatsatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya भगवते उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna devotees, please welcome to the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class for ISKCON Naperville. I'm seeking all of your blessings to speak something today that's beneficial for you and myself. And let me begin with sharing my screen. It works. So we're reading today from Canto 2, Chapter 5, verse 33. So we will recite, I will recite the verse. Tada samhatya chanyonyam bhagavat shakti choditaha sad astvam upadaya chobhyam sashrujur hi adaha. Synonym, word to word translation. Tada, all those. Samhatya, being assembled. Cha, also. Anyonyam, one another. Bhagavat, by the personality of Godhead. Shakti, energy. Choditaha, being applied. Sat astvam, primarily and secondarily. Upadaya, accepting. Cha, also. Ubhayam, both. Sashrujaha, came into existence. He, certainly. Adaha, this universe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thus, when all these became assembled by force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, This universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts his different energies in the creation. It is not that he himself is transformed into material creations. He expands himself by his different energies as well as by his plenary portions. In a corner of the spiritual sky of Brahma Jyoti, a spiritual cloud sometimes appears, and the covered portion is called the Mahat Tattva. The Lord then, by his plenary portion as Mahavishnu, lies down within the water of the Mahat Tattva, and the water is called the causal ocean, Karana Jala. While Mahavishnu sleeps within the causal ocean, innumerable universes are generated along with his breathing. These universes are floating and they are scattered all over the causal ocean. They stay only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu. In each and every universal globe, the same Mahavishnu enters again as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and lies there on the serpent-like Shesha incarnation. From his navel sprouts the lotus stem, and on the lotus, Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Brahma creates all forms of living beings of different shapes in terms of different desires within the universe. He also creates the sun, moon, and other demigods. Therefore, the chief engineer of the material creation is the Lord himself, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. It is he only who directs the material nature to produce all sorts of moving and non-moving creations. There are two modes of material creation: the creation of the collective universes, as stated above, done by the Mahavishnu, and the creation of the single universe. Both are done by the Lord, and thus the universal shape, as we can see, takes place. So, you all have you had 2 days with back to back with Pratibha Prabhu and Shatrupa Mataji, both the Bhakti Shastri teachers. And now this third day you're stuck with me. So just please bear with me as I try to unpack what the source is trying to tell us. So what I thought that it doesn't hurt to kind of review. I know Pratibha Prabhu and Shatrupa Mataji kind of gave an overview of what this chapter is about. It's titled Cause of All Causes. So we're learning about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how this whole creation is taking place, which is an answer to Narada Muni inquiring from Lord Brahma. He had asked him 6 questions, and the third question that he had asked was about how does this creation is taking place, because Narada Muni, even though he's a pure devotee and he knows for the benefit for all of us, he is asking this to Lord Brahma, that it seems like you are the creator. Everything is being created by you. But, we see you also praying and meditating. So is there somebody beyond you? Is there somebody who is superior to you? And he submits and he makes inquiries about the creation. That's the third question, where he said, how is it created? So in this verse, from 21 to 35, Lord Brahma is answering his question. So we're almost towards the end of the section where he's being answered. So I thought, it doesn't hurt. I usually like the visual things. So I thought maybe we can do like a quick review up until now what Lord Brahma has explained. And it's nice to have a visual So this is taken from Bhagavata's Subodhini, this chart. So as we hear, you know what, actually, let me backtrack. Let me actually go back here. And in verse 33, we'll come to that. Sorry, I'm just ahead of myself. So in this verse 33, if we look at the purport, or in the verse, this word right here, we heard until now all these elements have come together, and then that's when we'll do the chart. But where here it's being explained that everything is in like a suspended state, nothing is happening, it's just all one by one coming together. And in this verse, this word right here, until the Shakti, Lord's Shakti, energy, Choditaha, being applied. So there is this need of Krishna's energy. Without Krishna's energy, nothing works in this creation or in this universes. So that's one thing. And then in the purport, we can see that in the beginning, Prabhupada is expanding, where it's saying that Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts his different energies in the creation. And it is not that he himself is transformed into material creations. He expands himself by his different energies as well as by his plenary portions. So just remembering the fact that the Lord is working through his energies. He himself is never comes under this material modes or the material creation. He always stays aloof. And then this next section is usually what we hear about the general creation, right? So Prabhupada is just giving us a quick synopsis of how in the corner of the spiritual sky of Brahmajyoti, there is a spiritual cloud appears, and its covered portion is called Mahatattva. So that's where, you know, this right here, this material nature Mahatattva comes. But before that, so as we can see, that here it's like a quick synopsis. It's nothing in detail. So these verses 21 to 35 is giving us a really detailed step-by-step how the creation happens. So this is what we normally hear, that there is this Mahatattva, the Lord glances at it, he's sleeping in the causal ocean, and while his Lord expands into Balaram, and then further expansion, and then he expands into Mahavishnu for the purpose of creation. He's lying on this causal ocean and just in Yoga Nidra, and just by his breathing, all these universes come from the pores from his breathing. So then they're generated and they're just floating. They're kind of scattered all over the picture that we see. And then again, so there's multiple universes and there's individual universes. So then the Lord expands again and he enters into each universe from Mahavishnu to Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And then in there, from his navel sprouts lotus stem, and on that lotus stem, Lord Brahma is born. And then here, last part, we see that Brahma creates all forms of living beings of different shapes in terms of different desires within the universe. And then he also creates sun, moon, and other demigods. So then Brahma, as if we look at it carefully, he becomes a secondary creator. So this chapter is this expansion. So this is kind of like, we can say, like a summary of how creation happens. And then this is the expanded version of it. So far we have read and heard that this Karanodakshai Vishnu, Mahavishnu, he is just with his glance, okay, he impregnates material nature. So within his glance, what's carried is Kala and Jivas. So with the Jiva, what's included with each jiva or spirit soul is their karma from all their previous lives and their svabhava, their nature that they have acquired. And all of this combined goes or enters material nature, where in its undifferentiated, unmixed state, just kind of lying dormant, is called pradhan. So when these three modes are inactive, that we know, the goodness, passion, they're just kind of lying dormant, nothing is happening. And with that, once the skala, the time, which is also Krishna's energy, enters, he impregnates this pradhan, then it starts to, in one sense, starts to differentiate. It gets agitated and things start to change. And that, it's called Mahat Tattva. And that Mahat Tattva, further, just kind of also in a quick review we're doing, it further, so now there's this three modes, the goodness, passion, ignorance. So they also have predominantly, further it turns into ahankara, the false ego. And then when these three modes mix with this ahankara, then this further expansion of things get to start to differentiate. So ahankara is mixing with mode of goodness, gives rise, which Pradibha Prabhu had covered, to mind and 10 sense devatas. So mind is generated, and the controller of the senses, the devatas, which are listed here, which we had read earlier, they are differentiated. Ahankara mixing with passion differentiates into intelligence and 10 senses, which are 10 working senses and 10, I think, knowledge acquiring senses. And then when ahankara mixes with ignorance, we get the 5 elements, the earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and then the 5 objects of the senses. Here it's called matras. So this is how the differentiation is step by step happening. But it's all just kind of still, everything is still in a suspended state. Things still, aren't animated yet. So then, these elements. So here it's 23 in Bhagavad Gita. We hear it's 24. But according to this verses here, it's said 23 elements. So these 23 elements are just kind of have come together, but they're still in an unmixed state. The bodily form, right? So they're just kind of dormant. They're just sitting there. There is no bodies that are given to the jivas yet. So this, like text, this 33 is talking about this assembly happens by Lord's Maya Shakti. So everything is just kind of sitting there. Nothing is happening until the Lord's energy comes. So we can see all the way from the beginning, nothing is happening until Lord's energy, whether it's in terms of time or Maya Shakti or the modes of material nature. Nothing is happening until this point. You don't really want to bring out that unless Lord's energy is present. So this, So Krishna himself, and then so that's just kind of like a quick summary until now what we had discussed. And then in this, Krishna himself, Prabhupada, then further in the, it mentions that the chief engineer of the material creation is the Lord himself. And he quotes this Bhagavad Gita 9.10, where Krishna himself says that this material nature, which is one of my energies working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. under its rule, this manifestation is created and highlighted again and again. So Lord Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita has said that this is all happening through his energies. And then in the last part of the purport, it says these two modes of material creation, the creation of the collective universes, as stated above, is done by Mahavishnu. So that is the primary creation that is done by Lord Vishnu. And then the creation of the single universe is, as we know, as Lord Brahma is describing, is done by Lord Brahma. But both of them, even though both are done by the Lord, it is the Lord's will that Shatrugna Mataji had talked about yesterday, and the energies of the Lord. Without that, we'll see further as the verses are going on that nothing happens until Lord himself enters these universes. So, I was just thinking like a good analogy. I'm sure there are like many analogies that we can think of in terms of even in our material day-to-day lives, that how this can, how we see it. So one like really just a simple example I was thinking of is like Lego sets. The children, they get the Lego set. It's all the parts and they're building whatever they're building. All these different parts are given to them, and you can give it to the kids and say, go ahead and build the Lego set, or they'll say build a dinosaur from it, or build a car or a house or something. And the kid can look at it and say, well, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. So what, even though all the elements are there, or all the necessity of to build the Lego set is given, but what the kid also requires is instructions. Unless those step-by-step instructions are given, he's not going to be able to build. So similarly, everything is provided by the Lord, the elements. But to create, Lord Brahma, who is a secondary creator, he needs the blueprint, he needs the instruction, he needs the knowledge. So even though Lord Brahma, it may seem like that he's creating, he's the creator. It's everything is happening according to the will and energy of the Lord. So that's one thing. And another point I wanted to bring out here, what I can stop sharing. I don't know. And then yesterday, Shatrugna Mataji brought up this point about, why we need to know the creation in such details. Why can't we just know that, okay, Krishna or Mahavishnu creates the universe? And it's a great point because, she said that just so we can have this awe factor that, my God, how great is our Lord that we're worshiping. Because we hear people say, and Prabhupada also mentions that we hear people say that God is great, but how great is he? It's beyond our imagination. So when we hear things like this, we can see how great God is. And then, I was also just wanted to add a couple of points to that question, is that it's important for us to understand this creation in detail, because that's one of the questions people have in general, because as we're preaching, as we're going out, as we're trying to spread our Sankirtan movement, we're going to come across many people. And creation is one thing that puzzles a lot of people. Why there is a creation and how the creation happens. Even in Bible, it's given just like, one day Lord, manifested this, and then, so there's nothing so much in detail. So when we know this detail, when we have this knowledge, we can actually explain, we're equipped with the knowledge to answer such questions, which can then, also help people to dig deeper and say, okay, well, that sounds, really incredible, let me look into it. So it can help us in our preaching opportunities. And, another most important thing, that came to me as I was reading and pondering on it is that we're all trying to build a relationship with Krishna. And, we are to make this connection. Obviously, we haven't seen Krishna, but we're seeing Krishna through scriptures and through our acharyas and their writings. But we are asked to meditate on Krishna's name and his pastimes, his activities, etc. So we naturally like Krishna's pastimes. We like to hear about Krishna's pastimes and Goloka Vrindavan and his dealings with his devotees, which is all wonderful to hear. But this is also, creation is also part of Krishna, one of his activities. What does so he has, when he goes out and he has fun with his friends and his gopi friends, and he has this loving relationship with his parents, and he has friendship with Arjuna. All that is nice, but what does he do when he goes to office? In one sense, Krishna doesn't go to office, but even in our naturally, when a boy meets a girl or girl meets a boy, they initially have that fun dealings where they're just trying to get to know each other, and what does he like to do, what does she like to do. But as things get serious and as even the families get involved, then they want to know, what does girl's family wants to know, what does the boy do, what is his career, what does he do when he goes to the office, what is his not just his likes and dislikes, but also his activities in his career. So similarly, we're all trying to build. So in even this material relationship, we're curious, right? We're curious to find out all these details. And here we're trying to build an eternal relationship that is eternal with Krishna, who knows everything about us, but we are the ones who have forgotten him. And we're trying to revive our lost relationship with him. So how important it is to learn as much as possible about our eternal seed-giving Father, our best friend Krishna. So that's just something I wanted to bring a point from this. So just in conclusion, this verse where the elements became assembled by the Lord's cohesive energy, all the elements that had started, they had differentiated, they have come about, but now they still have to come together, and they created this universal fetus. So, but still everything is in a suspended state. Nothing in one sense is being formed. There is no bodies or shapes or anything like that's being given to the living entities. So we will see further in the next consecutive verses that the Lord enters the universe in the form of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and that's when everything starts to become animated, and then there's a description of Virat Rupa, and then the further Lord Brahma will describe that how he creates what the creation, secondary creation looks like. So thank you all for tolerating me. And it looks like I didn't realize that I would speak for so long. Thought it was going to be a quick class, but we have like a minute or two. If anybody wants to bring out any points, if there was any mistakes, please feel free to, voice it out.
Mathaji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. A quick thought of dealing things, it says nothing moves or nothing happens without the sanction of the Lord. Even the blade of grass does not move, cannot move without the sanction of the Lord. That we hear so many times.
Yes.
But this one is giving us how and what. What does that mean, basically, right? So this morning I was plucking some flowers, The roses are in buds, but then the roses bloom so beautifully, and then there are so many petals with so many colors. Who in the world can create this? Can scientists create, or I can create, or you can create? Is there is no way nobody can create.
Yes.
How Krishna's creation. So the appreciation comes only when we know that we are not doing anything, somebody else is doing it. So that's one thought. The second thought is, even I do something, I get some pride, a little bit of pride of whatever I know things. But who in the world, who is inspiring or who is telling us how to do, how to guide? Guiding is also coming from Krishna as a super soul, which we don't understand.
Yes.
But in spite of knowing that pride and false ego is unbelievable, you know, nobody can talk about that. It's me, it's me, it's me. Yeah. And so the people, even I was thinking, even in this material world, there is a matter of happiness and suffering. So what happens when we are very happy all the time, then there is always a kind of nourishing the false ego. And when you are in distress, that means you are in distress, so it will be a problem, a lot of suffering. And then you'll feel that, oh my God, I need to be happy. So between happiness and distress, either you want to become happy, you will nourish your ego, or suffering, that means you can't even do anything. I'm not the doer. It's tough for me. I have to take my medicine and this and that, right?
Right.
So in this material world is kind of a duality, whether it is a happiness or a distress or anything like that. So what do we do? I was thinking, this is the only place we can understand that either happiness or distress, at least we know that we have to purify and go back, at least take shelter of Krishna. If you go to higher planetary system, when there is happiness, that's only nourishing the false ego. Even somebody goes to the higher heavenly planets, there is no time for them to even think about Krishna, because there is always something will be there. Yeah. And even if you go to hellish planets, there is no way. There is every moment there is a suffering, because the Yamudutas are making us suffer. Yeah. So how do we do anything for that matter? It's the only way we have to be in this material world. It's very fortunate to be in the material world like this. In the material, especially planet Earth. And then we are in touch with Srila Prabhupada's movement, which is actually nourishing in a beautiful way. So the matter of how, instead of understanding, that I am great, we need to understand the greatness of the Lord. Then that I and my greatness will go to hell, and then I will go to, in that way my consciousness will be with Krishna. Yes. Thank you, Mathaji.
Thank you. You explained it so nicely, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes. Hare Krishna. Okay, it's 8:04, so we will end here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.